Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Metaphysical Hour. I'm Julia Cannon, and this is my co-host, Tracie Mahan. Woo!
Hi, everyone.
So excited. So exciting to be here. Oh my gosh, this is doing another one of our special QHHT Level 3 series. Yay! With one of our newest Level 3 practitioners. Woo! It's so exciting when another one comes through the door. Woo! Yay!
Yeah. It is. I find it to be very exciting when we reach that level 3 and we really start jumping into these sessions at a deeper level. So
absolutely. So our very special guest tonight is Connie Racher, and you're from, okay, I know, is it Austria?
Yes,
Austria. Yes. You know, it's hard to believe that because you were talking before the show about how hot it is, and it's hard to believe that Austria would get hot.
Oh, yes. I'm so happy to be here. So welcome. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very excited. Yes, and it's very hot right now. So we have kind of continental climate in Austria. We're in Central Europe. So it can be very, very hot, up to 36, even 38, sometimes 40 degrees in the last few years. So, and it's not usual that we have air conditioning in the houses. So yeah, it's really, really, you have to get used to that. And working is quite a challenge in that climate. So we hope that it won't last too long.
Right. Yeah, this is because we're just at the beginning of summer. This is the first day of summer.
Yes, and it's summer solstice. It's the beginning of summer, and it's a wonderful day. It's a portal day, so I'm very honored that you're interviewing me on that special day.
Since you guys said this, we are pre-recording on the 21st because this is not going to air on the solstice.
That's right.
So I just want to clarify, we're pre-recording because of our time difference, and so so we're celebrating summer with Connie, and she's bringing the heat.
Yeah.
All right. Bringing the heat. Well, Connie, let's just keep it going. Let's keep it hot then. So, you know, what we love to do, I love to hear your story, how you came into QHHT or in the metaphysical world, all of it, because I'm just guessing that you didn't start there. I don't know. I don't know your story, but that's what I'd love to hear is your story.
Okay. I'd love to share my story with you.
Wonderful.
Actually, it's my QHHT is my third professional career, right?
Okay.
If you want me to touch shortly upon my other two careers, right? So my first professional career was a teacher of English language in the local grammar school. You would call it academic high school, right? So I moved here after I finished university. I moved to Schwechat, which is very close to Vienna. It's actually a suburb of Vienna. And because I got a job here, so my first teaching job. So that was, the phase where I got married, I had my kids, we bought a house, we got settled down. And actually, I loved my job. I loved teaching, I loved the kids. I loved my colleagues, and we had a lot of fun together, and we did very interesting and cool things at school, actually. So we were a bunch of quite young teachers, about 80 teachers and about 800 kids. So it was a small grammar school in comparison with American schools, but still quite big, I must say. So I love teaching. And, I have a kind of body mechanism inside me, which tells me when I'm done with a certain activity. And I did it for 25 years, so that was quite long. So my kids were already grown up and they had left school themselves. And so I got this feeling, I don't like that anymore. I have to change. I don't know why. But, when you don't do your job with passion anymore, you don't like to get up in the morning and go to school and do the teaching. And so I thought, okay, I have to do something else. And, in the meantime, I had done several trainings as a life coach and also a training as a feng shui practitioner. Because, my spiritual phase had begun about 20 years ago. I got interested in feng shui and I started reading books. And I started doing courses. And then I thought, okay, I have to make a decision. I can't do it part-time, teaching part-time feng shui. It doesn't make sense for me. So I decided, okay, let's take a year or two out of school, right? And let's see if that goes well. And it took me a while until I was that far, because it's not easy to go from, you're employed and, Kids have to be taught, they have to go to school, right? But when you go self-employed, it's a totally different thing, right? But in the end, I did it, and I have never regretted it. So 25 years of teaching was actually enough for me, and I have, I've done all my experiences, and it's kind of got boring, right? So I thought, okay, let's do it. And I got the support of my family. So I went self-employed, and I became a feng shui practitioner, right? But parallel to it, I always did some life coaching because I like that. And, in school, you have to know how to communicate, you have to know how to support students, and also teach, and also colleagues and parents. And so that went actually quite well. And so, okay, I did feng shui, and I did kind of life coaching, right? And the interesting thing was, in feng shui, it's the method that I learned is called the flying stars method. And it's a very, very precise method. Actually, the flying stars is you put a numerological energy chart on top of the floor plan, right? Okay. And those chi combinations, we call them chi combinations, or star combinations. Star actually means chi. And they tell you exactly what's going on in the house. So if there is a lot of romance, or if there is a lot of fighting, if people are sick, or if they're healthy, if they're successful in their careers and things like that. So very, very exciting. And you can achieve actually great results if you get the chart right, and if you get the remedies right? And when somebody is sick in the house, I actually thought, I could do some more. How can I support those people, right? And, I started thinking about some kind of healing methods, not like medical or something like that, or psychotherapy or something like that. But I wanted something that works fast and is very effective, right? And so I did some kind of trainings. I did matrix energetics with Dr. Richard Bartlett. He's an American alternative doctor. So, and he came to Austria several times. Every year they came with his partner. They came to Germany or to Italy, or at least to Europe. So I did a lot of trainings with them, and it was quite successful actually. But there wasn't really a flow, right? And so I kept thinking and thinking and looking and looking. And I remember once we did some kind of mastermind group with an American guy in Vienna. And when I was telling my story, and we were discussing books and things like that, how to become successful, and he said once, Connie, don't you want to be a healer? And I said, me? A healer? No, I can't think of that. But the seeds were sown actually, and I started looking and looking, and I went into hypnosis. Actually, I did 2 hypnosis trainings. One with a Russian guy who came to Europe to teach, and one with a Dutch alternative doctor, right? Who was quite similar to Dolores. He actually did a course with Dolores, and he snipped some things from her, right? But it was not successful. It didn't get there.
I wonder why. That's a valuable lesson right there.
I can tell you a few things afterwards if you want. No one do them online, right? So, yes, and at that time, that was about 2016 or something. I was researching and reading books about a Russian girl called Anastasia. And she was some kind of a Vedic master who lived in the wilderness in the Siberian taiga, right? And a man discovered her, and they fell in love, and they had 2 children together. And he wrote about 12 books about her. And actually, I
didn't know those were a true story. I heard of them when I was in Russia. They were always, it was a big rave, these books. I thought it was just a series of fantasy books.
Yeah, absolutely true, right? And the interesting thing was because I forget the author. Actually, he was a businessman, right? And he discovered her, and she dictated the books to him, and she incorporated some kind of a magical language, magical word, and it had a very big effect on the people, right? And at that time, I was watching videos and things like that and reading the books. And one day I was on YouTube, And who came up? Dolores Cannon. Right? Just
does that.
just like that. And I got really hooked on her, right? So I watched some videos, and then I ordered the book. The first book was The 3 Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth. And I still remember some sentences screamed at me, like, you have to spread your energy, you have to go out, and you have, just be there. And I had felt that before. So, like, I have to go on public transport and just sit there in the train and be there, not even consciously spreading my energy, but just be there. Or go to the supermarket and just be there, right? And I felt so confirmed when I read the book, right? And so I said, at some point, that was maybe after a year, so I have to do the training. It's really interesting. So when I had the money together, and I bought, now I can't think when I had the money together, because now it's so nice to make money with this method, and just, clients come streaming in. So actually, when I was a feng shui practitioner and a coach, it was not easy to get enough clients to make enough money, right? But with QHHT, it was never, ever a problem, right? Even when I worked with the other methods, I practiced them, but I just didn't get into the flow, right? So I bought the course, and after I watched the first video, I knew that was the right thing for me, right? So I just loved the way she was teaching, and I was happy, and I was in the flow. And now I know we're all guided there. So certainly I was guided to this school as well, and it flowed. It was absolutely perfect. So I finished the course, and then I started practicing, and of course I had a lot of friends and also clients from feng shui, and so gradually my feng shui clients became QHHT clients, because when I had they had problems, and okay, why don't you want to look at it from a different perspective? And it flowed, and it was very easy, actually. So I had those practice sessions, and I kept sending out intentions. I want those guys from America to come to Europe. I need to go on learning. I need to and then magically the level 1 companion course with Susanne Spooner turned up in London. So I went to London, and that was also a very, very gratifying experience, actually, because I met a girl there, a Russian girl, and we've been friends ever since, actually. And the practice sessions were magical. And I just got an email from Susanne where she invites the level 1 companion course participants to come to Ibiza. And she said she remembers the level 1 companion in London as a special one. And there was a special atmosphere. There was a special atmosphere. And what was so interesting, if I may just mention my Russian friend who I met there, right? She had a husband who had a brain tumor, right? So he was very, very ill, and that was also one of the reasons why she did the course, actually. But she never got into practicing a lot. It was just not for her. But about half a year later, she wrote to me, and she said, we found an alternative doctor near Vienna, and we're coming to treat Tiago, her husband, right? And that was 10 kilometers away from me. So I invited them to stay with me, and he was so sick and so ill, and I fell in love with them. And, we have this wonderful weekend house in the woods away from here, and I invited them to stay with me, and they stayed with us for about 4 weeks, right? And I taught them how to cook and how to listen to music and how to have a good time. And of course, we also had a session with Tiago. And I remember, that was before level 2. I remember one question. He wanted me to ask if he should take chemotherapy, right? So we asked ourselves, should he do chemotherapy? And the answer was no, if he connects with the Creator, right? You have to connect with the Creator. Yeah. But unfortunately, I don't know if he managed it, but they did all kinds of alternative treatments, but in the end he died. So about, I don't know, a year or 1.5 years later, right? But that was a sad story, but I think just not everybody is meant to live, they have to make their own experience.
Well, and that shows you, see, there's more to it, that he got instruction, he got what to do, and then it's up to the person to do it or not. It's free will, what you want to do, if you want to take, if you want to heed the advice that you get.
And you know, I told him, you have to listen to the recording, you have to listen to the recording. And he kept on listening to all kinds of different spiritual things, but I guess he was never into it, right? He was never really into it. I mean, you can listen to the recording and not really hear it, right? That's what I've also noticed with clients, actually, right?
Yeah, you can't do it for them.
No.
Yeah, there's a belief. I mean, people, I think they kind of flippantly go, oh, believe, you know, something like that. That's a huge factor, to believe what is going on, because that's what dictates everything. And if you don't believe it, you're like, oh, whatever, you know, you're doubting it, you are closing it down, you're countering it the whole time. So you've got to give so much to that. You've got to believe what's happening here. And the more you listen to that, the more it will. I mean, you could say it's brainwashing. Well, fine, I'll say it's brainwashing, but you know what that's doing? That's rewiring that mechanism up here that's got you where you are right now.
It's a conscious brainwashing, isn't it? You wash your brain yourself, right?
Well, I was going to say it was brainwashing that got him in that place and that belief system.
Exactly. So like what sometimes we'll say they'll say we're rewiring the brain. That's what they're meaning. They're reworking the thought mechanisms and how everything works up here, and flushing out the other junk that's been in there the wiring, the recording that's been there, putting in a new recording. That has to be you consciously doing that, just choosing to push that button, or, you know, to say play on that recording and, okay, now go in here and rework me.
I talk to my clients often about Joe Dispenza, because in his workshops, he teaches exactly that. And he shows videos about that. So it makes it easier for them to understand what's going on in the brain if you listen to it. Because sometimes, you know, they just take notes, they write down the most important thing, and they tell me about it, and I say, no, you can't do that. But in addition, you have to listen to the recording, because it's a special energy, it's a special vibration, and you have to keep up the vibration going. And that's very, very important, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's go on
about
about level 2. Right. So, okay, there was level 1 companion course. So, okay, I needed to do level 2, right? So I needed the guys to come to Europe, right? And it was very close to booking Sydney. I think that was in 2019, right? So I thought, okay, should I go around the globe for a workshop, for a week-long workshop? So in the end, I decided not to. But a few months later, you guys came to Oxford, to England, and I was so happy that it worked. So all my intentions, which I sent out, they worked. Right? And
so now you know why you were called there.
Yeah, powerful manifester.
Love it.
You know, when I want something, I really work hard for it, and I keep, you know, sending out those intentions and imagining, but it works out. And the level 2 workshop in Oxford was really, it was a very deep going experience. I have to say, especially not only because of the content of course was very good, and I met interesting people there, but the best thing was actually that I met my friend Rolf there. Rolf, you know, the one who translated some of Dolores's books, and we have, you know, really we've become such intense and intimate friends, and we are constantly on the phone, and I visited him, and he's got this wonderful family. They are about, it's a patchwork family, and they are about 6 kids. Can you imagine? And there are 2, and you know, his wife had breast cancer, and they told her that she could never ever have children, and then they had 2 at a distance of 1 year. Can you imagine? So they have those 2 very small kids, and so that was fine. But he's doing those absolutely fabulous astral travels, and he tells me what kind of experiences he's making, and he also has those kinds of clients, actually. So it's absolutely interesting and fascinating to listen to him and to exchange information and things like that. Okay, so that was level 2. And it worked fine. And afterwards, you know, the results were better and the flow was, and the clients kept coming. But, you know, when you try to become good and better and better and better, it's a kind of pattern inside you. Yeah? As a teacher, I tried to become better and better and better. As a feng shui practitioner, I tried to become better and better and better. And with QHHT in the beginning, no, level 3, that's too far ahead. No, thank you. Right? But when you are in it, right? And I noticed that I had questions and I wasn't very sure about certain details, right? So I thought, okay, let's try. That was 2020, I think, level 3. But I only had 75 sessions. So no way to get in, right? Which was good, because then you came with the online level 2 workshops. And I decided to just do the level 2 again, but online, right? And it helped me so much because, you know, you reworked it and there was a lot more details and you could stop it in between. You could listen to the video, stop it, take notes, listen again. What did you say? How was that sentence? And that made a big difference to the on-site workshops. Of course, you didn't have the contact with all the others, but still, I found it was very, very good, and grateful, very grateful that you developed it, and it helped a lot. And also, you know, the results kept getting better and better and better, right? So that was 2020, and then I kind of became a little bit sloppy, right? And, I have to, you know, do a little bit here, do a little bit there. And okay, let's try level 3. I need a level 3. Kept out sending an intention. Okay, and then Tracie turned up. I think in September it was there was somebody else who did it, but then you announced yours, Tracie. That was in November 2022. All right, and I had to get on because, you know, you had, if you want to do level 3, level 2 must not be longer than 2 years ago. So I was yes, I had to do that, and I had more than 125 sessions. I had 150 or something. So I got in, right, and yes. So what else? How did I get on about that? I sent out an intention again, right? You know about the Indian guru Sadhguru, right? Sadhguru is an Indian guru. He's world renowned. He's all over the world, right? And I did a workshop with him, and he says, you know, set yourself goals: a short-term goal, a mid-term goal, and a long-term goal. And my short-term goal was to get the level 3 within 2 to 3 months. Flow should flow, no obstacles, quickly, fast, and with a good result. And it worked, right?
And,
so,
and as her instructor, thank you. Thank you for that.
The thing was, I was happy that I got in and I had sent off my intention. But the problem was I had to get an English-speaking client, because here in Austria, mostly you work with German-speaking clients. So where do I get an English-speaking client from, right? And I sent out intentions, and nobody turned up. And it got close to the deadline, right? So I sent Tracie a mail. I said, you know, I've got a video of the German speaking. We could translate it, but there is no interview. No, I need the whole thing. So, okay, what should I do? So I went back to my phone.
Got all the work you went through to get this. I'm remembering it now.
No, but it was fun, actually. So I sent out an intention again, but a special one. And I used one of my feng shui tools, and it's called Dagwa. Dagwa is a very, very powerful manifestation tool, and you work with the I Ching, with the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching. So you do an activation. Yeah, very powerful. You do an activation, and it has to align with the birth date, with the facing of the house, and if the date when you do it, right? Wow. And I did it, right? And the next day, a friend called, and she's multilingual, right? She works in Belgium and she lives in Ibiza. And I told her about that, and she's like, "Oh, if you had told me, I could have rearranged my flight, because I want a session with you anyway." She'd done one with me a few months before. I need another one. Okay, and I said, "Well, yes, but it's too late now, right?" And then I said, And she speaks 7 languages. So English, German, French, Italian is no problem, right? And she said, yeah, no, we could have done it in English, no problem. And then I said, oh, and she was on the way to Ibiza. You know, she was working in Belgium. And, you know, around All Saints Day, around the 1st of November, there were a few days off and she was on her way to Ibiza. And I said, oh, I could come to you and we could do the session in your place. Yes, do it. So all flights were booked out around All Saints Day. Everybody goes away because in November it's cold here and people want to go to Ibiza, to Portugal, what have you, right? And I got a flight on the Spanish airline and then the next day I flew.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Wow.
that worked perfectly. It worked perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And the session worked well. The interview worked very well. The hypnosis worked very well, although the external circumstances were not good at all. You know, it was not in my treatment room. It was in her tiny, tiny house on a futon. Can you remember, Tracie? The futon was kind of slanted, so she had to wiggle around all the time during the hypnosis because her back was aching. And there was this fly.
Oh, yes.
Around her head, and I didn't know what to do. I couldn't, you know, just chase it away with my hand, but I didn't want to get distracted. So that was not very pleasant. But actually, what was absolutely fascinating, the session, the hypnosis happened by itself. So there was a team up there and they were guiding me. They were guiding us, right? Because she's an experienced, spiritual person. And it just went, it went very well. And we, of course, we were very happy afterwards when it was over. And
but you said some very vital things. I mean, I kept saying, well, your intention, you know, you set goals, you had your intention out there and you knew what you wanted. And see, that's that team we're talking about, they're always there to help, but they needed to have that. They need to have the direction. They need to know what you want. They need to, before they can come in and help. I mean, otherwise they don't know what, you know, they have no idea, you know, it's free will here. And so
you know what, when I do my sessions, I always call them in, right? To help me ask the right questions, especially in the interview. And sometimes when we take a break in the interview and I go to the bathroom, I get the next few questions.
How many people get bathroom messages? It's so
bathroom. I get shower epiphanies. The bathroom's a wonderful thinking place. Downloading a lot. How much is a download room? Yeah. Yeah, the bathroom is a download room. So.
I love it.
Yeah. So I had all the preparations ready for level 3. And then I kept sending the videos, which are huge, huge files. And it simply didn't work. So it took me 4 or 5 days, right? The computer running all the time. And for some reason, I sent them on WeTransfer. And they told me it's been sent, but she didn't get them. She couldn't open them. Oh, my God. Right. I think the only thing that worked was the interview, which we didn't need because we did our own interviews.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad. Like all this stuff is not making it to me. I think did you end up playing it on your end instead? Like we found a way, but it
no, we found a way. Actually, it was Desiree, the Dutch girl. She said, just put it on YouTube and just click the unlisted, right? Which I did. And I did it while we were watching the other interviews. And it worked within 2 or 3 hours. We had it all up and it worked.
We were good to go.
It was quite a
challenge. Found a way. And then we were all watching it, and this fly was doing its thing. And I'm over here, you know, we're all kind of muted. So
we're all trying to swat the fly.
We're all wanting to swat that fly. And I'm like, how did you do it? Like she stays in perfect form during this thing with this fly.
But she didn't notice it, I guess. It was so deep that she didn't notice it.
They don't notice it. They don't notice these things. It's us. We notice it. Yeah. We're thinking it's going to bother them and it's bothering us.
But yeah, absolutely. It was bothering me.
Become hyper aware. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, it was well done. All the efforts paid off. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was very happy because, I didn't have to resubmit. It was just the induction where I had to correct a few little things. But all in all, in the beginning of December, I had it. So the 2 to 3 months goal was absolutely happily fulfilled. Trust.
Yay.
Congratulations on a job well done.
Yes, absolutely.
And so, afterwards, what happened was I thought, okay, I've done it all in English. I could actually upgrade my website. I had an English version, but a very simplified one, not the one I had in German. So actually I updated my English version because I thought if I did all the work, I can just as well get more English speaking customers, right? Which happened. So I did that. And, I have not too many, but people are coming from Italy, from Serbia. One came from Dubai, from the Czech Republic, from Slovenia. And, English is the second language. So it's no problem. We can do that. And I have got used to it. And I don't mind actually if I do it in English or in German now. But I have to practice. And so that's also a thing that I learned. And so you learn a lot of things besides the ones you're supposed to learn, right? Yes. And thank you, Tracie, for being such a wonderful teacher. You were so loving, so supportive, never putting anybody down, never being judgmental. And, in the beginning, that was quite a shock when we had to interview each other because we didn't expect it. But actually, it went very well. I remember
beautiful way to get to know each other and bond the class. It's amazing.
Yes. And you don't actually notice that the other ones are watching you because they're muted. And I think their picture. We just disappeared. So it was just, the person who interviewed you and myself. And I went so deep into my.
If we could maybe not talk too much about what happens in the class.
Okay.
Okay. Because
leave it a little mystery.
Yes. Okay. So. Yes, what else? What was interesting also is before level 3, I'm working a lot with the Bash, for the last 3 years or so, I have regular sessions with him. And of course, I also talk about my sessions, and I talked about how to prepare for the level 3. And he said, you don't have to prepare much, of course, which I did. I did a lot of preparation. Then also Dolores came in and said everything is fine, you don't have to worry. And it will be a kind of initiation, right? And I felt, I can't really explain it very precisely, but the initiation I felt was that the level 3 is a special kind of bubble, right? With special energy. And so the results have been extraordinary, right? They always go under, even the ones who would never suspect were very difficult left brainers, they go under. There's a lot of healing that's happening. And I feel kind of protected. And whenever I need Dolores, she's there. There was a wonderful thing about the level 1 companion course. After it was finished, I had this wonderful Airbnb apartment, and I was lying on the couch, totally tired. And suddenly I felt her energy coming in, and this kind of violet perfume, this violet flavor, kind of going over me. Oh, that's her. Thank you very much that you're visiting me. So I was very, very touched about that, I have to say. Right? It's an experience and a memory that I certainly will not forget. So I feel she is with me whenever I need her. And that's just great. And this is also probably part of that bubble, because I guess, and you will know better, she looks after us, doesn't she?
Absolutely, she does. Something else that happens, and I like you're saying this, what you're saying about, I mean, yes, definitely you're looked after, but also you have a confidence level that you didn't have before. And that's what really, like you're saying, all of them go under all of this. You know more about you and how you will deal with this. And that's that confidence. And that's what we teach with everything is, the more confident you get through this understanding, it's not just false confidence. Oh, I can do anything, that kind of stuff. It's, as you keep practicing, this, and it's that confidence. And then like after you've been fine-tuned in level 3, It's those little bitty, I mean, and granted, they're tiny little adjustments, aren't they?
Yes.
Tiny little things, but those.
And it takes a while until you get that confidence, until you can say, now I say, I know it always works.
Yes.
Because they say, what if I don't go under? What if I go to sleep? What if this happens? What if I don't see anything? And I said, just trust. It always works. And I believe it. In the beginning, I said it, but I didn't wholeheartedly believe it because I didn't have the experience. And also with the healings, you know, I know they're getting what they're meant to get. And it's not always the perfect healing. But I have learned that when they don't always get the perfect healing, it's for a reason. You know, for example, yesterday, I had a wonderful woman and none of her physical challenges were healed. None. They just said, I mean, not a lot. She didn't have a lot of problems. But with each, they said, you know, she had acid reflux. No, because her words are sharp and it will heal itself if she stops using the sharp words, right? Then she had cataract.
And that's how it is with a lot of them. It's like, this is our indicator to you. This is our sign. If you don't stop this, we can't stop this unless you stop this. And it's like, this is always here to remind you. So if we took it away, it's going to come right back if you don't stop.
Yes, absolutely.
So
they were so clear and so outspoken, and I tried to negotiate. Sometimes I try to negotiate with them, but they won't, right? Sometimes you can negotiate with them and you can persuade them to heal, but sometimes you can't. There were certain aspects, you know, with 5 or 6 aspects, you can persuade them to heal, but with the last one, you just can't, and you have to accept that as well.
But it ultimately comes down to that client has to do their part.
They got to do the work.
They have to do their part.
They have to be listening and being in agreement that they are willing to make those changes. And because there's always, if there's an ailment, a physicality thing going on, there's almost always something they need to change or look at to allow that to be released. And if they're in denial or don't want to do the work, or, you know, they thought they were going to come in for a magic wand treatment and walk out healed, you know, then
they go back to their old habits, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I had a client a few weeks ago, and that was really tough. She had a lot of things, but the worst thing was breast cancer. But really a big one, a big tumor almost coming out of her breast, right? And so they healed all her other things, but they didn't heal the tumor because they said, that's a warning. And she has to find her own way. She has to believe in her own healing abilities, right? And we cannot take that away from her. So they said that several times. We cannot take that away from her. She needs that, right?
Yeah, see, and that makes sense. See, and that's the thing. You want to get to that kind of an answer. You got to get to the bottom until you get a really good, solid answer. And when they say if that can't make, because that could have been her whole purpose in life. And then this is what was getting her to that, to be a healer, to be whatever, you know, she's got to learn. Because what do we know about breast cancer? I'm just going to use this as a teaching moment. What do we know about breast cancer? You know, that's about nurturing. Their lack of nurturing self, something. So probably in order for her to go through this process, she was going to have to learn to really love herself and nurture herself, take care of herself. And in that process, she was going to be learning wonderful, wonderful ways to help others to heal. So you can see how that translates, you know. So sometimes the SC gives an answer like that. That's what it's about, is this was created to get, you know, it's still trying to tell her something. She's trying to get a message, but the message is, you've got to do this for you. Sometimes you have to heal yourself in order to proceed on your path.
Yeah, but sometimes that can be quite tough. I'm in touch with her regularly. We are on the phone, and, you know, when she's really desperate, I try to cheer her up and, you know, point out some different modalities that she could do. And now she's doing a homeopathic treatment and things like that. But when somebody is in deep pain, it is tough. It is a very, very tough learning thing, I guess.
You just need to keep listening to that recording. Everything's on that recording.
And
you know, I don't know if that was, I mean, surely she got the piece that she had to have gotten information about how she had to start loving herself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to hear some session stories?
Absolutely, yes.
I have a few quite funny ones. The first one is about a young man who is in IT, right? And he came to see me with all kinds of communication problems, right? And you know, he felt alone. He had problems. You know, he's gay, and he has problems finding a partner. And his worst thing was he has an orientation phobia. So whenever he goes somewhere, he's afraid that he can't find home, right? So he was seeing a psychiatrist and some other things as well, right? If the job in the computer business is right and things like that. So he came to me in March, and he had been seeing a psychiatrist since last November, right? And they had come to a certain kind of agreement. They would work together for about a year and then see how it turns out. And he told me that he hadn't seen any results. So he saw him every week for $200 a session. Can you imagine, right?
Wow.
So he came to me, and everything was sorted out in this session. Everything. So the orientation phobia was due to a past life experience. And that's what I find so fascinating, because I have a lot of people who are, you know, psychotherapists, doctors, or people who are, you know, searching, and they're trying to find solutions for their problems, right? But they can't find the cause of the problems, because they're often in past lives, right? For example, there was one psychotherapist, he says, I have been doing psychotherapy for 30 years and it doesn't help. So, but when they come to the cause of it, which is sometimes, not always, but sometimes in a past life, and it's so easy to heal it, and then it's gone, and they are so relieved because you know, they are free. Actually, it's a new kind of freedom. So with that client, everything had been sorted out in the session, and he was very, very happy. And I said, are you going to continue seeing the psychiatrist? And he said, yes, you know, at least 2 or 3 more times, because we have agreed on that, right? So he went to see the psychiatrist, and he told him, actually, I don't need to see you anymore because I'm good. I'm fine. I've never been better in my life than now. And the psychiatrist said, it's just a high. It will just go away, because he couldn't believe that. So I think he saw him 2 more times. And each time he said, I don't need you anymore because, you know, all my problems have been solved. And then the psychiatrist said, okay, maybe it's some kind of a method of suggestions. You give her suggestions. And he said he didn't get it, what QHHT really was. But then he said, okay, I see, I have to accept that you're much better and you don't need me anymore. What kind of institute is that where you went to? And he said, it's not an institute, I just went to see Connie.
That's awesome.
So, and I was so happy because he wrote me a really long email explaining everything, how that had gone. But it was important for me, actually, because to see that he could keep it up, right? And he was really listening to the recording all the time, and he got into Dolores, and he's reading her books now, and he's getting interested in the subject. And I find that really interesting for IT guys, yeah. And I'm discovering more and more that actually those guys, those so-called left-brainers, they can be quite spiritual as well. And I'm getting them, right? And they're coming to see me. Otherwise, they wouldn't come if they weren't spiritual and
right.
Didn't
have questions, didn't want to answer. Yes. So there's something interesting that you said there that I think that might have been part of what he had to go through too, is where he went back and he was kept telling the person, I'm fine, I'm fine. See, that was reestablishing to himself. Yes. I'm fine. It's all sorted out. It's okay. And so it's him standing up for himself. I don't know if that was part of his stuff, but he had to do that maybe to kind of finish the process.
Oh, yes, I think that was very important. And I find that was very courageous and also part of his new self-confidence. That is, I'm fine. I don't need you anymore. And I said to him, you know, calculate that. You go there every week for a year, and that's $800 a month times 12 or times 10 or something. How much money you spared, actually you save, because you don't need to go there anymore. And I'm not sure if you really could have helped him, right? Especially with this orientation problem, right? I mean, you can't do that
Not
rushing.
if he wasn't going to go into another life, probably
No.
not.
No, right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so maybe a difficult situation, right? Because not all are like that.
Right.
But I had this girl from Hungary, I think she was, and she said, "Okay, I want to try it out of curiosity and things like that, right?"
Mm-hmm.
But she didn't see a past life, but she saw lots of light body and things like that. So I think she was very, very much up in source. But when I called the higher self in, it would not talk. I said, "Can I talk to the higher self?" No. So I tried and struggled for about 15 minutes, but they just wouldn't talk. They just said 3 sentences. All is good, right? Very relaxed. And then they said, "We are listening." So I read all her questions. I did all her physical things, right? And she never said a thing. So that took about, I don't know, half an hour or even more. I can't remember. And afterwards, actually, when I woke her up, she had a very, very difficult time to become awake because she was so deep, right? And then I said, "What was that like?" And all her physical things were gone, and she felt really, really good. So I remembered, what Dolores said, never waste a session. And, I started with silver healing meditation, and I did it like that. And then I read the questions and I said, "Okay, when did that start? What was the emotion? Can you heal it? How will she feel it? How can she maintain it?" All the procedure, right? And it worked. So, and that was a very interesting learning experience for me, right? So that was good. And yeah, you can't just stop it, right? Because in the beginning, when it was not that,
Well, and something else you're saying there, and this is really important, is expectations. When people come in, practitioners and clients alike, you have expectations, and it doesn't go the way it's supposed to go. You shut it down. It's like, "Oh my gosh, it's not working. We're out of here," But look, a beautiful session happened where nobody was talking except you. They go how they go.
And these experiences, they are so interesting for me because, another thing I learned was, and I had to experience, is you have to keep them under for at least 45 minutes to an hour. No matter what they say, no matter if they see a past life, especially if they don't, right? I had a guy, engineer, very left-brainer, right? And he just saw scenes from his life, right? I don't know if he was making them up, because he said, "It doesn't work. I'm not under. I'm awake. Connie, this doesn't work." And I said, "Okay, stay there. Be relaxed. It's working.
Going with me."
And then I called the higher self in. No, I'm awake. This doesn't work. But at some point, suddenly, he said, "We and you and he." I've got him, right? I've got him. And so I asked the questions, and he was there because he had problems with his marriage, and his wife had sent him to see me because she needed him to open his heart. That was her request for him, right? So it's just to see his emotions. And he also had a physical problem. He had a kind of tennis arm. So he was, I think, surgery was ahead in a week. And I said, "Should we look at that?" No. I have the appointment for the surgery. So he wouldn't look into that. And that's okay, right? I mean, if it's quite a thing for him that he got those answers. And then afterwards he told me, I said, "Okay, I knew it wouldn't work. So I just didn't give a shit." And then it worked. So he let loose and he relaxed. And he didn't care anymore if it worked or not. And then it started to work. So he needed a long time.
It works, exactly.
But, I was sweating and, oh my God, how is this going to work, right? But in the end, it turned out that it worked fine.
Yeah,
right?
see what you're saying. See, he surrendered. He allowed.
Yes.
That you got to allow, and whatever form that is, and it may be that you don't care so much, you just let go of all the caring, because sometimes they care so much that they don't realize, "I want it so bad, Well, you're restricting it. You're actually shutting it down when you do that. That's those expectations again in there. Just go, "You know what, and whatever happens, I'm just give in." And it'll happen. It flows.
Yeah.
Yes. And you just need, as a practitioner, I think we need these experiences, even if they're tough, because you learn from each session, you learn, right? And I want to point something out. Tracie, you said you find that the interview is very, very important. Sometimes it's even more important. And I just had 2 young girls where I found that the interview was it was more effective for them than the session, than the hypnosis session itself. Especially for one girl, she called herself, she had sociophobia. She can't talk in front of others, right? And then after this 3-hour interview, she just talked normally. She was joyous, she was laughing, she was telling me her story. I said, what problem do you have about talking to other people, right? So I think something opened for her, right?
Yeah.
But then in the hypnosis, she had a hard time. I think she did not have a concept of what the higher self actually means, right? So not much was going on, and her conscious mind was coming in all the time, and she was probably too tired already, and she couldn't concentrate and she couldn't relax. So I just gave because she had a problem with a kind of exam, you know, she was doing an apprenticeship, and she had to go to school, and there was one exam at the end of June, and she was very, very afraid because she had to talk in front of the examiners, right? So actually I just also did the river healing meditation, and I gave suggestions that it will be okay, it will be fine, she can, you know, when she studies before, she knows the answers and things like that. So that was also interesting for me. And then there was another one, also a 20-year-old girl, who also had, but she was very, very spiritual. And I mean, the way she was talking to me, that girl was really high up already, right? But what was so interesting, she also had an exam problem, right? So she was at the end of her education, and she was doing a training for kindergarten teachers, and she had a math problem. She couldn't do her advanced math exam, and she'd already done it 3 or 4 times, and that was and I think in September was the last chance. And I said to myself, I mean, really, why does a kindergarten teacher need advanced mathematics? But the problem was the teacher, right? So we talked about her, and she described her as a kind of math robot. So she doesn't care if that is needed or not. She has just to bring the results, right? And what I did then, you know, those things are just coming to me during the interview. I had learned about a technique from Jean Houston. She's an empowerment teacher, an American one, very, very famous one. And I did a workshop with her. And she said, you know, you can change past events, but just going there and changing them. And I said, you know, why do you think you have a maths weakness? I mean, you are intelligent. The way you talk, the way you write down your questions, that means you're a very, very intelligent girl. So why are you talking about having a math weakness? When did that start? And then she said, you know, when I was about 4 years old, I heard my mother talking to a friend about myself, about she's good at numbers, she can't calculate, she can't do this, she can't do that, right? And so I said, okay, close your eyes, and we did a kind of a little meditation. And I said, now you remember your mom talking to her friend, you know, my little daughter, she's very good at numbers. I mean, I'm amazed about the things she can do, right?
Reframe it.
Reframe it. Rewrite the story.
Rewrite. Yeah, you're rewriting history, and it changes everything.
Yes. And then in the hypnosis, I just asked the higher self what they said, and they said she needs to trust, she needs to believe, and then it will work. And then I asked her, you know, what about the exercise we did? Oh, that was fine. That helped her a lot. So I try always to confirm during the hypnosis if that was enough or if they need something else. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Hey, I'm looking at the time, and you're not going to believe, but we're actually right there. So thank you so much, Connie. Can you tell everybody how they can find you if they would like to have a session?
Yes. Okay. So my website is connieracher.com. Just one word. Racher, right? R-A-C-H-E-R. Connie Racher is one word, right? And they find all the information right there, right?
Beautiful.
Fantastic.
And where's your location again?
Yeah.
My location is Vienna. So it's actually Schwechat. I mean, the village is called Schwechat, which is a suburb of Vienna, right? But it's very close to the airport, so it's fine for somebody who fly in for the session because it's just a 10-minute drive from the airport, right? And you can stay at a hotel at the airport, or in my village, there's also hotels, so they can go and, you know, add a little holiday in Vienna, weekend holiday.
Sounds like a destination, yeah.
Yes, it's a wonderful destination.
Absolutely.
And may I mention one more thing about Anna Morozova, the Russian girl, who's also a level 3 in Vienna. I think she was the latest one, and she was also with you, right?
You're posting pictures that the two of you found each other.
Yes, and you said, you know, may I introduce the next level 3? And I checked out on her on the internet, and I saw she's in Vienna. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, we have many Russian people living in Vienna. And so I contacted her, and we met a few days later and had a wonderful conversation.
Isn't she just the sweetest?
Yeah, it was absolutely wonderful. And, you know, I asked Tabash about it, and he said, you had a life together, and you were her mother, and you worked through history to be together again, and you learned to do wonderful things together. So that was so sweet. And so we have an appointment next week again, and we'll see what we can do together. But we are always on WhatsApp. And so, yes, and then we sent the photo to you when we met the first time. But it was, it clicked. We saw each other and it just clicked. So related.
I just think I've been blessed with some of the best students on the planet. So Julie is always like, but how are you getting all these amazing people all the time? I'm like, you guys have all been great. And I just have been so blessed with all the classes that I've got to teach, and the connections you guys are all having is just, it just makes my heart happy. And those pictures you guys sent me when you met up was so cute. So, but I know we got to get going. So Julia, how do people become a practitioner?
Yes, go to QHHTofficial.com. All the information is there on that homepage, or you can look at courses up on the menu. But it's an online course. You can take it at your own pace. Just, you know, at the comfort of your own home. It's wonderful. Just see what resonates with you. You've heard these stories. If this sounds like something that resonates with you on how to help people, my gosh, this could be the absolute path for you. And then Tracie, well, that's if you want to be a practitioner. If you want to have a session, you go there too, and go to find a practitioner. Hopefully you'll be in Europe and you can go see Connie. Go to where you can search for practitioners in your area or where you're willing to travel, and see who resonates with you. Do your due diligence. Tracie, how can people find you?
Well, QHHTofficial.com or TracieMahan.com. You'll find my information there, or at either spot. And so excited to have you on, Connie, and it's like a double fun for me because I got to spend time with you already, and now we're here celebrating that end result of level 3. That's so cool.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. It's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you very, very much.
Yes, thank you so much. It's been fantastic. We love you all, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.